Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Better Homes and Garden Real Estate Podcast. My name is Jarrell Young. I'm here with the same people you saw us with last week. We have Mr. Calvin Tucker. He's on a different side of the table.
Switch it up every now and again.
You know, I was like, he got it, and he also has a T-shirt on today. He decided to switch up the wardrobe.
Yeah, this is supporting my daughter. That's the whole thing there.
It's a good looking T-shirt.
Thanks.
It's a great looking shirt. And we also have the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Mike Kenney.
He's back again.
Hey, all right.
Let's go.
He didn't hate us the first time.
I was like, it wasn't that bad with you guys. I guess I'll come back.
He was like, man, it was a rough talk, but I got through it. So, fellas, how are you? What's going on in your world? Who wants to go first? Mike?
We'll let Mike go first.
Man, my world. Well, I am blessed. I got to tell you, life has been chaotic in the last few weeks since we saw each other last. There's just, different challenges that are facing each and every person, but we get to see God's faithfulness and all that. And, I've got kids that are gymnasts, and we are having tons of fun watching them do gymnastics. They're, they've all qualified for state in gymnastics. Yeah.
How old are your little?
Oh, they're little, 11, 9, 7, and 5. The 5-year-old is not doing gymnastics. he is not doing it. He should be wrestling or doing like the demolition derby. But the 3 girls are all crushing it, and they're junior Olympic level gymnastics. So it's fun.
That's awesome.
Life's good.
What does that dynamic look like as a married man running a business? How much time are you just kind of like running as fast as you can from like one event to another event to another event?
Well, life.
Thank you for that answer. He just gave us the hush. He said,
Yes. You're always moving. We're always moving.
Yeah. What about you, Calvin? How was your week?
Yeah, man. Week has been pretty much the same, kind of like Mike. Its own version of good chaos there. Big milestone for my little toddler. We've been working on training some things, and he's accomplished some milestones. So that's been big in the house.
There we go. Come on.
Then just getting ready. The T-shirt I'm wearing is in support of my kids. They have a musical that's opening this Thursday. So really getting everybody prepped and ready and excited for that. So we're excited to see them perform and celebrate them this coming weekend. And yeah, man. Yeah. What about you? How's your clan? How's your people doing?
Ooh, man, we had a week.
Yeah.
We had a week in and out of the hospital a little bit, but
man,
God is good. He's a healer.
Amen.
He's a provider. I'll shout right now.
There you go.
But no, he's
praise break.
Yeah, but God is good. I'm just excited to be here with you guys today, though, having this conversation, talking about some fun stuff. Which Calvin, I'm actually going to have you lead us for today. Today, we're talking about the real estate market, talking about, we can go back as far as you want to, back to 1967, if you would like to.
I wasn't around then, but maybe some other people can help us out
But
with
we
it.
can go back as far as you want to, but just trying to give people an idea of what the market's doing. But before we go back that far, what's happening in our market right now? What are you seeing?
Yeah, man. So I just was kind of reviewing the past 30 days or so. So kind of quick update on what's been happening with the market here. So in the month of September, because we don't have stats yet for the month of October here, but essentially for the month of September, single-family residence median prices was around $475 compared to last September, which was $480, interestingly enough. For anybody interested in a townhouse or a condo, median price right now is around $350 from last year, which was $347. And then, inventory for both of those type of properties right now. So what's active on the market for single family residences is going to be 631. And this is for El Paso County. So of course, for other counties and everything like that, we can give very specific numbers, but This is specifically for El Paso. 631 active properties for single family residents. That's not a lot. If you're hearing that number, that's extremely low. Same thing for townhouses and condos. We're around 165 for those. And then days on market. So this is where we really looked at what's moving in the market, how quickly are things going once they go active and live. So days on market for single family residences right now is about 35. And then for our condos and our townhouses are about 42. So as you're looking out there and saying, hey, I got a house I got to sell, I got a townhouse I got to sell, move on from, those numbers are kind of where we're sitting right now in the market as far as the past 30 days. So within the past 30 days, that's where some of those numbers are sitting. So helps you guys make more informed decisions as you're kind of looking at that there.
Absolutely.
Would you say, and I open this up to you as well, Mike, would you say some of the media, the propaganda that the market's crashing. The market's at the worst place it's ever been. Are we agreeing with that? Are we not agreeing with that? Do we have any data? What are you seeing just in the El Paso County?
Yeah, so if I go El Paso County, if I look at what last year's median price was for a single family residence, it was $460. It's $475. So clearly nothing's crashing like between September of 2022 and September of 2023. Even the same thing when we're looking at townhouses and condos. $345 as opposed to the $350 we're sitting at right now. So as far as a crash is concerned, I don't see that happening. And I think a lot of that is because the inventory is like still sitting there. We still need more homes compared to how many buyers that are still wanting to buy. So yes, when we come out of a market like 2021, which was crazy and fast and quick paced and stuff was sitting on that, on the market for 3 days.
3 seconds. It was like, hey, this house just went on the market. It has 7 offers.
And it's under contract. Yeah. It's a little different, but there's no crash taking place. And so, yeah, I think and this is why we look at these numbers, right? As professionals in the marketplace, because we want to make sure that you have the right information to go into this. If you're fearful as a seller of like, well, I can't sell my home right now. The market's crashing, all this other stuff. It's like, well, no, it takes 35 days and we're still seeing appreciation and all that's still there. So we try to stay as up to date as possible. Again, I did this for 30 days, but I can do it for a week. So then, all those numbers are very current and accurate to what's happening right now. And from what I'm seeing here, I'm not seeing a market crash taking place. We still need some more inventory for some concern for sellers, and we're desperately in need of inventory at this time.
Now, Mike, tell me this. So you've been in real estate longer than both of us. What are you seeing? Is there any, are the comparisons back to 2008, the comparisons back to 2009, all those kind of things? Where do you fall when you're like, is that an accurate comparison? Is it not an accurate comparison? What are the differences between those markets? And just kind of speak to the person who's like, yeah, I want to buy, but I've been hearing on the news, the market's just terrible.
Yeah, no, great question, Drill. I agree with Calvin. The market is not crashing. People's perceptions are their realities. And so when you sit down with somebody who's never entered this world before, they're regular saying, well, I don't know. Is it going to get cheaper? Are the rates going to come down? What are we going to see in the market, this time next year? Should I wait to buy? What's the situation? So helping people understand and validating that, it is not what it was a year ago, right, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. The flip side of that is I had this conversation with someone that said, hey, I wish I would have bought a house in 2015 when I first got to the area. They were talking about the median price in their neighborhood was $250,000. The median price in their neighborhood today is just under $600,000.
Sheesh.
We're talking about less than 10 years later. And so, the question was, should I wait to buy? Well, that person waited to buy, and now that's where they're at. It literally will cost them more than twice as much. Rates are higher than they were. Mm-hmm. If the market was going to adjust, then you were going to see a major price shift. The amount of price shift you'd have to see to make up for market rates where we're going to get to, and my prediction is we will still see some shifting in the rates in that, and I do think it'll get more favorable this next year in an election year. But to have the market shift, what happens when that happens? Let me back up a second. When the rates come down a little bit, all this pent-up demand and the limited inventory, you're going to see those prices go through the roof there. That supply and demand equation always works. Yep. So what we're going to face is going to be nuts in that context.
And for like a quick breakdown of what he's saying there is the demand from the buyers who didn't want to buy at 7%. Everybody's going to get back in the market when those rates drop, which means whatever the house is valued at today, the demand's going to multiple offer. We're back in the multiple offer situation. We're back to people driving up the price above asking. So that's what Mike was essentially saying there is yo, if you're on the sidelines, just watch out.
The old Chinese proverb was, the best time to plant a tree was 50 years ago. Mm-hmm. The second best time is today. And so that piece of it, if you're in need of a house and you're saying, hey, I don't know if I want to pay 8% for the next 30 years. I would tell you there's options out there for you. In that context, one of the things we're helping people do right now is buy the rate down. Sellers, if they are motivated and they're on the market right now, it's a great time if you are a buyer. I know it sounds funny, but while there is limited inventory, people who have their house on the market for November, Thanksgiving to Christmas time,
They need to sell.
they have to sell. They have to. They're moving. They're doing it on purpose. There's whether it's a life change, it's a job order. Military got orders. You got to move. Whatever the case is, the reason you sell this time, you don't just pack up your house and move your family over the holidays for kicks and giggles. Like you're doing it because there's a reason to do it, and those reasons can be good and bad and different, but they're your reasons. So when those properties are on the market, while it is very limited inventory, the opportunity to find a deal for a buyer is there. And sellers, flip side, if your house is sat there for 30 days and you're like, hey, what's wrong with my house? Do I need to cut the price? Rather than make a $3,000 or $5,000 or $10,000 price adjustment, we should talk to you about other alternatives on how to make it more attractive to that buyer, whether that's prepaying for their HOA dues or buying their interest rate down or providing a warranty for them so they're not anxious about any cash outlay for repairs in the future. I mean, there's a lot of different things to be looking at in that context. But the rest of your question was, how does this compare to 2008? We're nowhere near that. Based on all the things Calvin just shared, the inventory is not there. So 2008, we had a glut of inventory that had started back in 2006. We had this peak of the market. Builders were building at just rampant paces as fast as they could crank them out and to stockpile inventory. They're not doing that right now. Builders are sitting on it. We've got builders that are building neighborhoods, and they're not selling them. They're building them to rent them because they want to keep that value. They know there's a demand for them. So it's a level of security for them in that context. The flip side is there are still homes out there. There's brand new homes out there. There's great deals on new homes out there. Some of the builders that do have inventory are doing things like buying the rate down. I mean, you can get in the 4% right now for 30 years fixed, depending on terms and conditions. We've got lenders that can help you do it, but there's builders that are ready to do that. So I'd encourage you, if you're ready to buy something, it's a good time to do it relative to as good a time as there are in the market, because you can't go back and do something 20 years ago. I mean, my grandfather came out here a long time ago and was doing development. He told me a story of how he could buy all of Powers Boulevard for $50,000. and it was like, well, you should have done that, Grandpa. It was a dirt road. There was nothing but horse pastures out there. He's like, yeah, I mean, I could own the whole thing. And that's the reality of it. Do we wish he would have spent the $50,000 back? Yeah, absolutely. We wish he would have. So you still need to do it right. You need to buy it in an intelligent way. You don't need to put yourself where you can't afford your monthly payment. We need to, we'll coach you through those pieces. And every one of the agents, I mean, Jarrell, you do a great job of this with your clients, saying, hey, here's your options. Here's what's going on. Let me show you how to do this. And we'll walk through how to do that. So every agent at Kenney & Company does that and does that really, really well.
Absolutely. Well, there's one thing that we've kind of alluded to a couple times. Calvin said it. You said it a couple times, Mike, talking about a rate buy down. For the person who's like, that sounds great. What is a rate buy down? Can you explain what is a rate buy down and why is that such a pivotal part? Why is that such an important thing to know in this market?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first part of the question, what is a rate buy down? Rate buy down is where the seller typically is giving some concession towards reducing the rate, whether you're doing it on a term, so a 2-1 or a 3-2-1 buy down, which means for the first 3 years, you're going to have a staggered rate adjustment, and that will adjust each year afterwards. You can do that. There's some benefits to that. If you're more concerned about the monthly payment, that is an option that can help you get really dialed in on that piece of it. You can do a permanent rate buy down, a little more expensive, but there's ways to do it. With a VA loan, they allow for up to a 6% concession from the sellers. That 6% concession, you can buy the rate down into the 4s right now on certain criteria required.
Sure.
You can get down there if you're willing to. So if you're really fixated on how much is the rate for the next 30 years, what's the price, what's my monthly payment at? There are ways to get that down. And that's effectively what it is. It's just money prepaid up front prior to closing at closing to bring your rate down and have your monthly payment either adjustable or fixed
Sure.
for that period of time.
Yeah, one of the things I at least dealing with some of the clientele that I have is just it comes up all the time. What are rates? What are rates? What are rates? And it's like, hey, here's what's happening in the market. Here's what we're looking at value wise, and there's like, yeah, but the rates. And so the importance I can't stress enough to the listener. Hey, if you have a situation to where you have a house that might be, have a couple days on market or quite a few days on market, right? And is willing to, allow you to buy their rate or buy the rate down, the seller's willing to buy the rate down, or you can buy the rate down if that's an option for you. It's definitely something to look into because there's an advantage to that. I mean, even being able to, as you kind of alluded to earlier, even maybe paying a lower rate for a couple years, like if you have like a 2-1 buy down or something like that, to where you're like, okay, my rate's 2% lower for this amount of time, and then trying to catch the refi a little bit later on or the permanent rate buy down. I just think they're amazing options for buyers out there if they're actually serious about purchasing something. Calvin, how would you?
Yeah, and you got to think about while you're doing that rate buy down too, whatever equity is being and appreciation is happening in the house, you're benefiting from that. So if you're taking advantage of something like that, if the seller is offering that there to you, again, it's like whatever your goal is with the purchase, right? If you're trying to do like a fix and flip or something like that, this probably is not your scenario. If you're trying to do this for an extended period of time, you're looking at this purchase as like not just what is my payment today, or what, oh my God, like even if the rate buy down thing isn't the option for the particular home that you're looking at, but you really like it and you want to buy it. If you're in it for more of a long-term purpose there, what we're even looking at with those stats that I just gave you, last year, the median price was $460. Now it's $475. And if you were waiting on rates to adjust a certain type of way, that property just appreciated $15,000 and you missed out on all that because you were worried about the monthly payment or how much $100 maybe here or there you were going to save. And again, I'm not looking at anybody's specific, budget for their monthly budget. So like Mike said, we're not telling you to go out there and buy a house and put yourself in a horrible situation. But if you're able to do this right here, that rate buy down program on top of the appreciation that you can gain from year over year with that, if you have a 3-2-1 and the house is appreciating and everything else like that, that's that equity that is now yours based off of that purchase. So it just makes a lot of sense to do it if you're in that position to buy a home. The rate shouldn't be the thing that should like be making you run away. If you're in a good position to purchase a home. What I look at when I see that, it's like, wow, I just lost it on $15,000 because I was afraid of a 6% rate or whatever that is, whatever that monthly payment was. And again, those fears are valid. We're not trying to invalidate any of that there. And we definitely want to meet you where you're at. But we also look at it from a bigger picture and try to paint that bigger picture for you. So in the long term, you're getting those benefits.
Yeah. Now let's switch it to the seller side, right? I feel like we had that conversation from a buyer's standpoint. What are you all seeing in terms of, as we're getting ready to list homes, having those conversations with sellers? They're like, hey, what can my house go for, right? What's the value of my house? And then when you get to that part of talking about where the market currently is at, how are you having those conversations with your prospective sellers on this is where the market's at? What does that mean for their home value?
Yeah, another great question. In context, it's still supply and demand. So positioning, I've used this analogy with hundreds of sellers, but if I put a $100 bill on eBay, I know eBay is not as big a deal anymore, but if I put a $100 bill on eBay and I list it for $105, how many people show up to that auction?
Zip.
Right. Yeah. If I put it on for $1, how many people show up?
Yeah,
more.
Cool.
Yeah, more. It's a good deal all the way up to $99.99. Okay, the difference between a $100 bill and a house is there is not a fixed value for a house.
Right.
Mm-hmm. A house is the value of a house is dictated by what a ready, willing, able buyer is willing to pay, and the seller is willing to take. That's what dictates market value. So in that scenario, you have a seller that's selling. Here's what's going on. My house, Zillow says my house is worth whatever. It's a regular conversation.
Zestimate.
And then many other syndicated sites that tell you, here's what your house is worth. That's fine if Zillow's going to buy your house. Most of the time, they're not. They did have an iBuyer program that didn't go very well for them. And
they tried.
That part of their business actually was sold off and almost bankrupted the entire organization. because of their lack of understanding of
Zesty.
the actual market. And there's other iBuyer programs out there that do a better job than Zillow did. But the context of what is happening, how we positioning your house to get the most people in the door, so that when the price that you want to get matches what the highest amount the market's willing to bear, we need to position it attractively. So whether that's besides all the professional marketing we're going to do, the video, the 360 tours, the 3D Matterport, the positioning you literally around the globe that we do because of the relationships we have inside of the Dotdash Meredith, Better Homes and Gardens piece. But getting you positioned all over. In addition to getting you all over, you still need to attractively price this so that people get in the door.
Yeah.
And so back to that eBay analogy, if you say, hey, I need to sell this and I want to sell it for top dollar, most of the time to sell it for top dollar, you don't price it high and then hope somebody comes in lower and then you get the best price for it. That's just not the way it works. If I've got 10 people that walk in the door and I priced it, we'll use the numbers Calvin just stated. If I priced the $475 price home and I priced it at $460 last year's prices,
Yeah.
everybody wants in the door.
Flocking.
Everybody
Yep.
wants in the door. I want to be here. I want to get there. So when we bring those people in to the door, guess what happens? They each want it. That difference between that $100 bill and a fixed value of, I know this is worth $100 on the market, and here's what $100 gets me. This house I want that house. So in the desire to buy it, when you've priced it attractively, instead of $460, now and you've got people in there, and there's three other people competing for this house. It's not even $475 anymore. This is where we see that shift.
Yeah.
It's $480. It's $485 because they really want that house and that extra $5,000 or $10,000, on their mortgage over 30 years isn't going to really affect most of the lifestyle of those people, but they really want that house. They want that location. They want those finishes. They want X, Y, and Z. So that's one of the things we talk about is how do we position this right? How do we price it correctly to draw in the most people? One of the big concerns, as we talked about a minute ago, was rate. One of the pieces of, do we offer some incentive to help have the rate bought down so people get it? And I can get that $475,000 house at 2 year ago's interest rate.
Interest rate, yeah.
Right.
And I want it. And that's another way to bring more bodies in the door and get that going. So those are all valid pieces to it. The other thing that we do see is because of inflation, the cost of repairs, things going on, we have people that are anxious, buyers that are anxious. So we helping the seller get ready and position their house well that way. So it's, again, you're not just putting a sign in the yard and hope somebody walks in and they're just going to throw offers at you just because you have a house. That's not what's going on either. They want to know, is it well built? Is it in good shape? Where's it at? So we offer a program to help people in that scenario that want to fix up their house, but the seller may not have the cash to do it. We have the ability to help come alongside of them and bring in contractors, get the work done so that it can get the best top dollar for it. And those buyers can come in and buy with a sense of peace and security. There's home warranties that we can help put in place that give both the seller and the buyer security in that process. So they're unique programs that we've got access to, and reach out to any Kenney & Company agent and they can talk through that program with you. But there's a lot of options. But we do want to be positioned right. You need to be staged right, getting people there. The technology we're using to, whether we're physically staging it and bringing it, we've got great stagers that do that, or we're virtually staging houses. We can virtually stage a house for a fraction of the cost in a matter of time, and it still lets the buying population visualize, here's what could be in this house.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, those are some of the tools we bring together with the seller to say, here's how we get you the most possible money in the shortest amount of time for your house, and we bring that to the table based on their goals.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember even at the beginning of the year, the latter part of last year, beginning part of this year, I remember Mike being very adamant about learn how to price a house and price it appropriately. And I think it's paid off big time for all of the Kenney & Company agents. I came in, again, this is the beginning of my 4th year, so only thing I really know is that pandemic market. And so it was put the house up and it's going to fly. Talking to sellers, just being like, do you think I can get this for my house? I'm like, looking at comps. I'm like, we can get that tonight. I don't even got to put it on the market for that. Whereas now it's like, okay, we have to have some strategy. And so I remember like they said like September-ish, August, September of last year, I had a listing that was sitting. I was like, Mike, this thing is not going anywhere. He was like, you got to adjust. He was like, let me help you learn how to price a house correctly. And then every listing that we've had since then has just been, okay, gone in a couple of days or gone in a couple of weeks, to where it's like the seller's not like freaking out, like, why isn't my house selling? They're like, oh, you prepared us for, hey, this is where we're going to price at. Sometimes it's having those tough conversations as well. I remember, Calvin, me and you've talked about it, like sometimes having that tough conversation of like, hey, this isn't what you think your house is worth. It might not be worth that. How do you have that conversation, or how do you preface that with sellers? Like, hey, where'd you get that number from? And, and how do you help correct them to finding that good number to sell their house at?
Yeah, for sure. And so I think it comes back to what we've talked about from an acronym standpoint of GROW, right? So here at Kenney and Company, we make sure that we are stewarding people's goals and their resources properly, and utilizing like, so why do you need to sell right now? So first it goes like, hey, I want to sell my home. Okay, great. Like, why? What is the reason for it? Oh, we're changing states, or oh, we're doing it here. Okay, cool. How quickly do we need to make this happen? Okay, that's how quickly we need to make it happen. Let's pull the comps. Let's do the CMA, right? The comparative market analysis, and make sure that, hey, this home in your neighborhood sold for this much in this amount of time. If we want to duplicate those days on market, it may be worth getting closer to that number or around that number based off of, the condition of your home compared to that one and everything like that. But how do you have that conversation? I think it goes back to like establishing trust, right? So first and foremost, you don't think that I'm trying to take advantage of your need to sell the home, right? I'm here to aid and assist you. So it's establishing trust with somebody, confidently showing our knowledge and again, resources in the market, what we have to provide you as an entity and as an individual. But it comes down to trust. It's hard when people also don't understand the shifts in the market, right? So a lot of times with sellers last year during that shift as it was happening, people are still expecting, well, if my neighbor got that, I can get that. Your neighbor sold 3 months ago when the market looked like such. The market looks like this now. So painting the proper realities is never easy when somebody has something very specific in their mind, but I think it is just still about, hey, I'm on your side and I want to help. I sat down at this table, took the time to make sure I heard what it is you're trying to accomplish. That I know confidently I will put all my resources and my strength and energy into this. And then this is why we're pricing it this way. So I think the first thing is just establishing that trust, and then confidently using the resources that we have to say, hey, I'm looking at the numbers. I'm looking at the market. I mean, I'm looking at today, the 67 properties in El Paso County just like dropped prices today. Mm-hmm. So without having fully got in those, is that because, hey, the seller's like, I need to keep selling, so that's a strategy that they're using? Or is it these houses were completely priced incorrectly? And did we sit down and go, okay, I need a listing, and so I'm just going to put it up to whatever you want it at because I just want a listing on the market? Or it's like, hey, guys, we know that it's not going to sell at this point. I don't feel confident in that. We can do it for a week and see where we get, but more than likely, it's better to just go at the right price of the market, because more days you sit on the market by being incorrectly priced, that's only hurting you. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So we want to be able to position you right off the gate at the right price point.
That's good. That's good. Well, I'll ask this question as we get ready to wrap up. What are you seeing as we're all active agents? What are you seeing from other agents? How has there, even from the selling side, from the buying side, as you're dealing with other agents, as you're seeing stuff on Facebook, right? We don't live under rocks. We're very well aware of what's going on around us. What are you seeing from agents? What's the temperature? If you could gauge the temperature of agents in our El Paso County market, what would you say it is?
Yeah, I think so again, it depends on how long that agent has been in the market as opposed to the ones who just got in during the pandemic, right? Again, like you had even given a testament to, hey, when we joined in, if you joined in around the pandemic time, putting a house on the market or getting, like for sellers, it was a very easy thing if you were a seller's agent. Buyer's agent, you were running some crazy hours, doing everything you could to get them under contract. But, Mike has talked to this about it before too. When you see a shift in the market, the cream of the crop come to the top too, right? You know what I mean? It rises. So, I think we're seeing agents having to go through that learning curve. I know I'm experiencing that learning curve. I know like you as well, we're experiencing that learning curve, but I think where you're at also, makes a difference on that. I think we really have built a place of integrity and establishing that here at Kenney and Company. That's our culture. So whatever we're doing, we're never doing for the benefit of ourselves, right? Yeah. How we try to benefit ourselves is how do we increase the value that we bring to the market? And that only increases what we can give the people that we're trying to take care of. But I think we are seeing agents have some concerns because the market is not the market that it was 3 years ago. People who are veterans in it have ridden these waves of different markets and know how to do that. People who maybe are on more of the newer side of it, maybe 2 years or under of experience, are having to learn what it takes to market yourself appropriately, are having to learn how to really focus on what that contract is saying and how you need to handle it and things like that. So yeah, that's what I've seen a little bit there.
Yeah. What about you, Mike?
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna turn it back on you, Drill, because I'm gonna finish with a couple thoughts on the same thing.
There you go.
I've seen a lot of things, so I want to hear from you. You tell me your perspective.
Yeah, I just say,
No names.
Yeah, no names.
Yep.
There's a little beep button I can hit. I was dealing with beep. No, I'd say when I'm dealing with buyers, the sellers agents the listing agents are a lot friendlier than they were before.
Yep.
But overall, I just feel like there's like a little tension. I think there's a lot of people just working really hard. I think this is a great business to be in. It's a great community to be in, great city. And we're all trying to just work our best to take care of our clients to the best of our abilities. But it's interesting seeing just so you can almost hear and feel the tension on the other end of the line where it's like, just give us an offer. And it's like, okay, I wonder, and I'm like, okay, as Mike tells us to do, as our Bible tells us to do, right? We pray for these people, right? Just pray for their business to do well. But at the same time, you're also like, man, I wonder what's going on in their mind. I wonder if they're feeling the stress of like, hey, because so many people so many buyers agents are off the fence, or because so many sellers are like, I want to list for this and this only. And you take that listing and you're like, I need this to sell to be able to pay my bills, right? Let's be real. Sure. To pay my bills or to go on this vacation that I promised, and the listing's sitting. And so you see so many different people that's like having these rough conversations. You talk to them, I'm like, hey, how's your business going? They're like, yeah, I'm surviving. And I'm just like, I hear you. And it's kind of like the sentiment I'd say that is kind of around our market in a whole, not even just from Colorado Springs, but agents we know in Denver, agents I even know in other states. I think everyone's kind of feeling it, but I think that, again, the cream is rising to the crop. The ones that want to work are finding the small loopholes. They're like, what? They're asking questions on, is there a buy down available? What is a buy? For the newer agents, they're like, what is a buy down? For the more experienced agents are also pulling some people, I think, with them as well. Like, hey, let me show you the ropes. This doesn't have to be a super flashy thing. I'm gonna show you the meat and potatoes of running a business. And I think that, in these next couple of years, as the market recorrects and things like that and rates come down, I think you're going to see some of these agents who are able to stick it out start doing a lot more business because they're like, this is a trusted agent. They've been through it. They rebuilt their business and things like that.
Yeah, it's just showing character. I think right now is the biggest thing. People's character is what's coming to the front. And so if you're learning in this market how to do real estate the right way, that character is going to carry in whatever market you're in there. So I think that's what you're alluding to, is just the character of individuals are coming out to the surface there. And you mean
to tell me you can't just do real estate, just pop in, get your license, and then just make 6 figures? Every time I'm on my YouTube, someone's like, why aren't you a real estate agent? If you don't have $10 million worth of real estate sold, you're a failure. I'm like, dang, I'm going to close my laptop. Hey, Mike, I'm done. I don't got $10 million in my pocket, so I'm out of here. No, but Mike, what would you say to those agents right now that are feeling that?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. There are a couple different things come to mind. I saw the God's faithfulness in that 2008, 2009. I'd been in real estate for 8 years at that point, and we'd seen the ups of the market. Going into 2006, again, it was relatively easy to sell. Properties didn't fly off the shelf like they were doing in the last 3 or 4 years, but you could do it. You could see them sold, normal marketing thing. And I say what I call normal. It's a new normal today. The level of what agents understood had to be done then versus what they understand now is different. And so good, bad, and indifferent. It was different. what you're used to doing when it came to an open house and getting in front of people and making sure we got the bodies there was just common practice. That's just what you did. But the other thing that comes to mind is, so in that time, in 2008, 2009, Colorado Springs became one of the foreclosure capitals of the world. We had short sales happening galore. There was pieces of anxiety. It was a time to retool. So I learned how to do I took a class on short sales. The very first time I went to the title company, and I said, okay, I've heard of a short sale. I've not done one. Learned, got into it, and did hundreds of short sales after that. But I figured out how do we help clients that were in situations where they didn't have to take a short sale. They didn't have to sell. So anyways, that motion of, hey, I'm going to be active. I'm going to keep moving. Albert Einstein had a quote that life is like riding a bicycle. And the only way to stay balanced is to keep moving. And if we understand that we've got to keep moving forward, you want to encourage you that you can do it. It's also like working out. Okay, if you get in there and there's no tension, in lifting, they talk about time under tension. There's no tension happening. The muscles really aren't growing. Yeah, you're doing stuff. You're moving. There's movement happening, but you're not growing. You're not getting stronger. And so right now, I would encourage any agent that got in when there was, the wind was at their back and they're riding downhill, and it was easy to do. There's a hill. You're gonna have to start pedaling your bike, and you're gonna start pedaling that bike up the hill. But guess what? As you start pedaling and riding up the hill, the muscles, the time under tension, are gonna grow. And what happens is, as you get those baby steps that turn into bigger steps, you're gonna be able to, before we know it, we're gonna get on the other side of this, and you're gonna be competing in the Tour de France. I mean, there's gonna be a level of excelling that happens from the people say that, yeah, I really want to get into this and move forward. And so I'd encourage you. Rejoice in that testing of your faith. That God talks about this idea that we want to rejoice when we face trials of many kinds.
Yep.
Because the testing of our faith produces perseverance, and perseverance is what's going to help you get through this, so that you can become mature and complete. I mean, that is the idea of, we want to continue to grow in this piece, grow in our faith, grow in our work, as we do it, the skills and talents and abilities God's entrusted to us. This is the chance that you have to be excited. And so I would encourage any agent that's there, one, come give me a call. I'd be happy to sit down and talk to you. But those are pieces of, I can tell my own story of what God did in my life, teaching me about his faithfulness, rejoicing in those trials that you're facing. And they're not fun. Let's not sugarcoat that. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good when you're, time under tension, you're lifting weights there, you just rode up the hill, you got the workout in, you're stressed, you're pushing up the, muscles are tearing and stretching, but then the blood and the nutrients and things are getting into them, and they're growing stronger. But that soreness that you feel, that's real. You feel sore after that workout. You feel sore during that. So, we started the podcast that, hey, how you doing? We're talking about how crazy and busy and things. That's some of the time under tension. We're under tension. There's pieces of what's going on. I mean, your daughter and what she went through there in that context, there's time under tension. Okay, is my faith strong? Is my faith real? Do I trust what's happening? And even if it doesn't work the way we think it should work out,
right?
Do I still trust the God that says he knows? Do I still trust that he owns the cattle on 1,000 hills and the hills underneath those cattle? Do I still know that he's going to provide for me? Do I still have that faith there? Or is it only when it's good? Do we only trust God when it's good and it's easy? Do we only, excel when there's no challenges there? The real test of character in that context is when you face adversity. And in those times of adversity, you're going to see that character develop, as Calvin said. You're going to see that piece, the character, the quality of service. You were saying it about agents. You do see it. And as we guard our clients and take care of them, you've got to watch out for. I had an agent on the phone, like, no, we just need to make this deal happen. We just need to make this deal happen. And it's not in the best interest of our client to do just what they want to do. And they're doing it because they're just focused on themselves. It's I need this paycheck. I got to get paid.
Yep.
And, we pride ourselves on that fiduciary responsibility of putting our clients' needs above our own. And you guys both said it. I appreciate it. And I'm proud of you guys for doing it so well. That is the kind of thing that right now, that character will pay off, and that fruit that will come to bear down the road, you will reap a harvest. You will always reap what you sow. You always reap after you sow, and you always reap more than you sow. So just a basic principle. So right now, you're focusing on what am I sowing? What's the workout? What's the regimen I'm going to start getting into in that context? What's the learning I need to do? Again, back to 8 and 9, was it short sales and foreclosures?
Right. Yep.
Was it understanding
rate buydowns?
buydowns?
Yeah.
Is it understanding what terms are
Assumptions,
available?
yep.
Creative financing, things that are there for people. Is it understanding what's happening in this marketplace, knowing the inventory, knowing how to go find inventory if it's not there? I can tell some fun stories about that where they're like, there is nothing here. And we got, allowed us to go and figure out, let me go find that for you. And we have the ability to do that, tools, resources, networks to get those in front of people. But my encouragement to anybody that's in that scenario is hang in there, and do it. There's another season. I'm going to talk to another group of agents that I know. I've been doing this a little longer than both of you guys, but there's a group that's been doing it twice as long as I have. And they're saying, you know what, I don't know that I want to go through that workout again. I'm not ready for that time under tension again. And to those guys, I would say we've created an option for them, and we can sit down and talk about it, but a way for them to still get paid, still take care of their clients, but let the young bucks that are strapping, got the muscles ready to go and doing it, and have already got the character to get there, that they're willing to get that done. So that's a little plug to any of those people. But if you want to figure out a way to retire out of real estate, we want to give you an option to help you do that too, because there's plenty of you that worked hard, and it's okay to step into the next season of fruitfulness God has for you if it's not in selling real estate. So it's okay to have that peace and let those things say, here's what God's taken me to. But quitting just because the times get tough isn't the right answer if you really want to excel in this business.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, fellas, thank you so much for such an amazing conversation.
Thank you, Drew.
We're going to end this a little bit different than we have before, and they don't know what I'm about to say right now.
Uh-oh.
We're going to end this with one shout-out. So everyone gets one shout-out before we shut down the episode. So it can be a big thing that happened, someone you just want to highlight in your life. So I'll go first.
There we go.
So I'm going to shout out my wife. She took a big step in faith this last week. She getting more involved in ministry, starting her own podcast, a lot of different things. And so I'm super, super proud of her and what she's doing, being able to take care of all of our kids when I'm out doing stuff like this. Super proud of her, what she's doing. So big shout out to my wife.
Let's go. Jazzy Jazz.
Good shout out. So, all right, who's next?
Awesome. Well, I'm gonna give one to the two of you. So I am blessed. Calvin is my right hand man. I can't function and all.
Sometimes I stand on the left, but mostly on the right.
Like, what are you doing over here? Get over here.
Get over there.
He looks to Ray. He's like, Calvin. Oh, you are.
There you are.
No, Calvin has been such a blessing. To the point of he was, driving me around. I was recently in a car accident and replaced the car and had to go buy the new car, which is really a pain in the butt. So I'm going to talk to some of the car dealers out there of the processes and how to do that better. But
make it simpler.
But the context of it, Calvin was extremely helpful. And he just always is. He's got a heart to serve, and that heart to serve is a blessing to me. And so I'm grateful for you. I want you to know that. And
thank you.
Say it in a big public forum like this.
Yeah, thank you.
Calvin.
Yeah. And Terrell, is you as well. The enthusiasm that you attack any problem that you're faced with, even when the circumstances don't look good, is a blessing and encouragement, and want something to be modeled. I know the way you love and serve in your church, the way you do it in your family, the way you do it in your business with your clients, and the way you just do it in serving others is a blessing to me. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to get air horn myself.
There you go. Air horn yourself. I can't reach, so I would do it, but I... Yeah, no, my shout out is similar to Jarrell's. It goes out to my wife. Just how hard she's been working. I make the joke all the time. She's a full-time student, a full-time employee, a full-time mom. I let her be a part-time wife. I got no, she's a full-time wife. My wife is doing so much and stewarding so much of it well. So shout out to my boo. Shout out to my wife for taking all that on and still being a phenomenal mother, despite circumstances of life, despite what the enemy may be trying to do in our world. She is a phenomenal mother to all of her children. And yeah, so shout out Renee, shout out my wife. Yeah, that's my shout out.
Awesome. Well, we just want to say thank you to everyone who's listening, everyone who's watching. Thank you so much. There's a lot of different podcasts out there. We don't take it for granted. This is the Better Homes and Garden Real Estate Kenney and Company podcast. We'll see you guys next time.